Hey folks, I'm Philippi, and welcome to my new Stellaris guide. These quick guides are meant to help new players and even old players learn a few tips and tricks about some of the functions of playing Stellaris. In this episode, we'll be looking at colony ships and transport ships. I lumped these two together because they're fairly straightforward, but there's still some things to learn about them. And we're starting here with the colony ship. These ships are used to colonize new planets. Quite not that surprising given by their name. But you may be interested in how it's done. So this colony ship I've already built, and it is on its way. You can notice here that it's got 500 hit points, 100 armor, 150 shields, and an upkeep of 1 energy per month. And it has STL capacity, and it has a disengagement opportunity of +1. So they're not very good at escaping, and they are a little expensive to maintain. This is the Mayflower class. And the colony ship, the TSS Valhalla. This ship is used to colonize new worlds, and if you go and select a new world like this one over here in the Stellaris system, we grab our colony ship, and you can just right-click on the world with the little green icon. It means that you can colonize it. If you look here next to it, it says Continental World, which is the world type for my species, since this is a human race. It tells you the size, which is 19. And 90% is the habitability of the world for the race that is on the colony ship. And we'll get to a little bit what that means in a second. So if you want to colonize the world while selecting a colony ship, you just go to the world you want. You go colonize planet. You pick the name you want. I usually leave the name of the system, which is the default. And then the first planet you colonize will be called Prime. And if you colonize this planet and there's a second system here and you colonize that one, it will say Stellaris Secundus, for instance, as in the second planet that is colonizing the system. Or you can name it whatever you want. You can randomize the roles as well, whatever you want. Usually these are linked to the society you have. So we can call this one, how about this one? Port Karakosov. Sounds good. The second way you can colonize is to go to the colony planner. So you go to expansion planner here, and you can see all the worlds that you've seen that have the possibility to be colonized by you. So this is Mars, Alpha Centauri 3, Stellaris 3, which is where we have the colony ship going, and BRAM 3. So you can see the colony ship is already on the way here because it's got a little colony guy with a flag. It means that there is already a ship en route to settle this planet. From the scene, you can also see if it has any features. This planet has a dust desert. You can see the size of the planet. This planet is 19, the one we're heading to. How far it is from your home world. This is a distance of 21, and its various sectors that it has, plus any planetary modifiers it might have. This is a terraforming candidate, for instance, and this planet Alpha Centauri has good minerals. You notice here that the Arctic world in BRAM3 has only got a 30% habitability. This is because humans do not survive well in Arctic conditions. They require special equipment, special buildings, and generally it is a much tougher life. So any settlement that you put here will suffer a huge penalty for existing there, and 30% I would argue is quite low. The middle range will show up yellow and it's like 50-60%. It might even be 70%, and everything 80 and above is green. So you want to sort of aim for the green, because the higher the habitability, the more productive your citizens will be on the planet and the more happy they will be. Mars is a 0 because you cannot live in a world without any atmosphere, which is a barren world right here, or any real atmosphere I should say, because Mars does technically have an atmosphere. So if you want to colonize a world from this particular screen, all you do is click on the system you want to do, and in this screen it gives you all those details again. So it shows you the various planetary features you might have, as well as the tile blockers that may be there, as well as all the different assignments for the districts that you could build. And then it tells you which species do you want to put on the ship. This is important to note because every colony ship only carries 1 pop of population per ship of a specific species. So if I had, let's say, a robot species that I've created here, and maybe I had a migratory pact with a neighboring empire and I had some of their creatures on my planet, I could pick any of those 3, but only one of those 3 to land on this planet and be the founding colonists for this new world in our empire. So I'm going to pick humans here because it's the only thing we have. Oh, I don't have enough stuff here. Let's solve that. Just grabbing a bunch of stuff. We'll go back to the expansion planner. We'll click here. Then we can click our guy and see, you get to name it Alpha Centauri Prime. Sure, sounds good. And it will build a colony ship in the closest starport, like your shipyard, nearest to the colony you're building from. So because Sol is right here and Alpha Centauri is right here, they're building the colony ship in Sol. But let's say I was settling Biram here. We found such technology that allows us to survive in Arctic worlds, or we had another race or robots that can survive there. And I had a shipyard in this system over here. It would not build the colony ship over here. It would build it over here, the closest to the system. So just remember that as well. And then once it's built, the colony ship will pop out of the system and automatically head over to the planet it wants to colonize, and then begin settling, which we'll see in a minute. Colony ships, let this run a little bit while my colony ships are moving and building. So colony ships are also a bit expensive to build. They could be moderately high to build, as you saw in my thing. It costs a whole bunch of minerals and food and consumer goods, so they can have quite a price.
Colony establishment has begun.
And colony ships also have an upkeep. The upkeep continues all the way to the end of the colony development. So when a colony ship lands, as this one has, as you can see here on this thing, Great Day for Humanity, for our first colony, you get that pop-up. And you can see over here on the right, a new planet has shown up. We have Earth, and we have Port Karakosov. So Port Karakosov is not a full colony yet. They are settling the colony, and this bar will slowly tick up until they finish settling. And while it's ticking up, you will be incurring an expense of maintaining that colony. It is not self-sufficient yet, or not even producing any goods yet on its own, which they do on the planet. And so you have to worry about being able to maintain that at the same time as running the rest of your empire. So if you have a whole bunch of worlds to colonize, it may not be worth settling them all at the same time if you're in a bit of a resource crunch. You may want to settle them one or two at a time to slowly build up your empire to be able to support that sort of weight of colony settlement on your empire. And as this ticks up, you will see the colony develop, and after a period of time, you can see that the colony gets developed. So Port Karakosov here is fully developed into a colony, and it has one pop. Right now it has a 50% stability. It starts off with a reassembled ship shelter, which is your colony ship that's been turned into a base for your colony, and absolutely nothing here. So you have to start setting up stuff by building city districts and whatnot on this planet that you would like. Whatever you would like down here. Maybe not the luxury residence. I wouldn't recommend that one. Perhaps the Hollow Theater instead. And that's their planet there. But not only starts with one pop. If you want a colony to start with more than one pop, and you see this little alert here once you've gotten the colony settled. That's when this bar is completely filled. If you want more pops to settle, you have to go the expansion path. So you adopt the expansion path here, and then the first one on the right side here, Colonization Fever, allows you to start with one additional pop when you colonize. So that's important to remember, that you default with only one pop when you start. So that's all we have to say about colony ships, and so the next thing we need to talk about are transport ships. So transport ships, as you can see here, are just these little tiny ships that carry troops around. Each transport ship is responsible for a certain value of troop based on the type of troop that you built. And you truck them around and you land them on planets to invade planets. So unlike colony ships, which are used to settle uninhabited planets, transport ships are used to capture inhabited planets. So this can be capturing planets from primitives or capturing planets from enemies as needed. They can also be used to fortify your own worlds by landing the armies on planets that you think may get invaded as acting as defensive troops. So the way you get transport troops is you go to any occupied planet you have, you go to the Armies tab, so usually you default to this tab, you go to the Armies tab, and here it will tell you first off who the planetary guard is. This is what is on the planet already to protect it, so you notice we have 2 units here, you can only have a total of 72. And then we can recruit more units. So you hit the recruit button and you can pick from this list your preferred army type. So right now, at the beginning of the game, I only have the basic assault army, and every race starts with this basic assault army. And you can see the damage is 1.65 to 3.30. This is what's used to determine to hurt the enemy. Morale damage hurts the enemy morale and causes them to retreat. You can see the stats there as well, how much collateral damage it causes, how much health and morale each of our units have, as well as their base upkeep. Note that every army has continuous upkeep, so as long as you have them employed, you have to continue to play the upkeep for every army that you have. So you have 10 armies, it's going to cost you 10 energy in this particular case. Different armies will cost different amounts, or different things. And different armies will have different strengths and different races. So races that are strong will usually have a higher attack and damage, and possibly higher health and morale. Other races like robots and stuff may have different stats. You may run across tech that gives you bonuses to your races. You may run across an artifact or a relic that allows you to construct certain races, or some of the precursor event chains allow you to construct certain armies. And you may be able to find worlds with unique creatures on it, like the giant worlds that have giant creatures on it, that you can turn them into giant armies for yourself. And there's stuff like cloning technology and Psi warriors and all that stuff. There's a whole different kinds of troops you can have. But nevertheless, all it really does is affect the army strength value and its ability in combat. And so armies show up as a little fleet here, and you can assign them as a general as well. And these generals act like fleet admirals in that they support the entire army unit, combined unit, fleet, should say, transport fleet, with their particular stats. So these ones give a higher army morale, and this guy here is just a cheaper leader, plus their base stat bonus, which I can't see from this screen, so I'll just recruit her. We'll pick her up, and her base stat bonus gives you army damage plus 5%. And this will go up as they gain experience. So while she's commanding this army, she'll give the army a morale bonus and an army damage bonus. Armies are defaulted to the passive fleet stance, but if you would like, you can put them on the aggressive fleet stance, and it says here that they will automatically follow friendly military fleets around and invade hostile planets if the odds of success are favorable. So this is a really cool feature that I don't think a lot of people know about. And so if I have this fleet here and I move it to attack, let's say there's an enemy in this system and they had a colonized planet, I move over here with the fleet to defeat whatever's there, the starbase, any enemy fleets. And if I've done it, and the planet has a value less than 72, it means our odds are high to defeat the defending armies on the enemy planet, this transport fleet will not only follow this fleet into that system, will also automatically invade that planet. And when they're done, they pop back out of the planet and float around in space, and they take a little while to recover after an invasion. So they get damaged, the morale goes down, and then it affects their effective strength. And so they need a little bit to recover and recuperate, and the strength you see will slowly tick up. And once it's done, they'll be ready to invade again. And if, say, there's multiple planets here, they may go invade another system once they're confident, the AI is confident that it can take that planet again. Or if you prefer to do all that stuff yourself, you can leave it on the evasive stance, where the fleet will automatically fly away from hostile fleets. Or you can leave it on the passive stance, where they will do neither. They will just sit around and get blown up if you don't pay attention to them. This is the default setting. You choose whatever you'd like to do. Personally, I prefer to land my own armies, or I set up the aggressive stance when I have a system with a lot of planets in it that I want to invade. I might just plunk the transport fleet in that system, turn it to aggressive, allow them to take over that system while I'm managing the rest of the war. When I notice they're done, I'll turn it off again and I'll move them to wherever I want them to be next. The one thing to note about army ships is that they are extremely squishy. They have no weapons on them, and they have the same disengage rules as everybody else, and so they will take time to disengage. And while they're taking time to disengage, the enemy fleets will blow up ship after ship after ship in your fleet, costing you time and resources to build these things. And so it's important to make them protected and not leave them in vulnerable positions while you're flying around. Anyhow, that ends my guide on transport ships and colony ships. If there's anything I missed, please leave a comment down below and let everybody know what that is. Like and subscribe this video, and subscribe to my channel if you're enjoying the content, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a great day.